In the dim glow of the moonlight filtering through the dense foliage of the forest, a man cautiously made his way along a narrow path. He was Elias, a figure marked by mystery and burdened with a heavy heart. Every so often, to orient himself, he whistled a peculiar melody that echoed through the branches, calling into the night. The distant response from a hidden companion guided him, urging him on until he reached a small clearing illuminated by the moon, revealing a haunting yet beautiful scene resembling a dilapidated amphitheater, its edges adorned with rocks and encircled by trees. As Elias stepped into the clearing, the tranquility was shattered by the sudden appearance of another man, emerging from behind a large rock with a revolver drawn. "Who are you?" he asked in Tagalog, his tone sharp and demanding as he cocked the weapon. "Is old Pablo among you?" Elias asked, his voice calm and steady, betraying no hint of fear despite the tense situation. "You mean Capitan Pablo?" "Yes, he's here," the armed man replied, lowering his weapon slightly but still wary. "Then tell him that Elias is looking for him," Elias urged, the name carrying a weight of significance. Upon hearing the name, the man's demeanor changed. "You're Elias?" he asked, a tone of respect entering his voice. "Come with me." Elias followed the man through a concealed entrance, descending into a cave. The guide expertly navigated the twists and turns, warning Elias when to duck or step carefully. They soon entered an underground hall lit dimly by flickering pitch torches. In the shadows sat a dozen men with grim expressions and worn attire. The air was thick with smoke and despair. In the center of the group was an old man, his forehead wrapped in a blood-stained bandage, clearly a figure of authority among them. As the pair entered, the others began to rise, but quickly sat back down upon a gesture from the armed man. Their curiosity piqued now that the newcomer was unarmed. The old man turned slowly, and his tired eyes brightened slightly as he recognized Elias. "It's you at last," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Elias took a step forward, a wave of emotion washing over him. "In what condition do I find you?" he exclaimed, shock evident in his tone as he took in the old man's disheveled appearance. The old man sighed, lowering his gaze and signaling for the others to leave, giving them each a swift look of appraisal, their eyes assessing the newcomer. When they were finally alone, the old man spoke. "6 months ago, when I sheltered you, I had pity on you. Now the roles have reversed. Please sit and tell me how you got here. I started searching for you the moment I heard of your misfortune. It's been 15 days. I've traveled over nearly the entire countryside, crossing mountains and valleys just to find you," Elias replied somberly. The old man's expression hardened as he recalled his plight. "To avoid shedding innocent blood, I have had to flee. My enemies fear retaliation and have hidden away, leaving me to face the unfortunate souls who have never harmed me." Elias identified with his pain. "I've come to offer you a way out. I have nothing left in my own homeland, and in these troubling times, I have decided to leave the province and head north among the independent tribes. Will you abandon this life and join me? I will be your son, since you've lost yours. You can find a father in me, as I have no family." The old man shook his head slowly. "When someone at my age makes such desperate resolutions, it's usually because they see no other option. A man like myself, who has spent a lifetime working for the future of his family, I once had it all: 2 sons, a daughter, a home, and respect. Now I am but a shadow, hunted like a wild beast, all because of the crimes that shattered my family." Filled with anguish, he glanced away, reliving his tragic memories. "My daughter was dishonored. My sons fought for her honor, and for that, they paid with their lives. The minister of God who presided over this injustice is now free while I wander in misery." Elias listened, filled with sorrow as the old man's grief unfolded. "What happened to your sons?" he asked gently. "They tortured them. One son died under their blows, the other was driven to suicide. I, their father, stood by helpless, powerless to protect them. If I had not tried to save the guilty with my silence, they might have lived. Instead, I have nothing but wrath burning inside me, the old man cried, anguish spilling from him. Elias felt a rush of sympathy but also fear for the consequences of the old man's desire for revenge. I understand your sorrow, but revenge will only lead to more suffering. Innocent people will pay the price for our pain, he said forcefully. Listen to me, young man. You are free to forget your anguish, but my heart is aflame. This wound on my forehead? It was inflicted by a guard while I tried to stop him from hurting someone guilty of nothing more than following orders. I cannot let my son's deaths go unpunished, the old man retorted, tears streaming down his weathered face. Elias, desperate to impart wisdom, pointed out, "You know that seeking revenge could provoke terrible consequences. It often falls on those who are innocent. We need to think of the bigger picture, of the people who would suffer. Let the people learn to defend themselves. Every man must take a stand," the old man insisted. "That may be impossible," Elias countered. "I knew you when you were full of life. To fight back would mean bloodshed. More innocent people would suffer, just as they always have." "But listen," Elias continued, trying to inject hope into their grim discussion. "There is a young man I helped, a noble soul who wishes to see his country thrive. He has influential connections and friends in Madrid. We could appeal to him to help us." The old man raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "But is he not just like the others, who seek wealth and pride above the plight of the poor?" "No, this man is different. He has faced disgrace over his father's honor, and he cares about the future for his children," insisted Elias, his voice rising with conviction. "What if he listens? What if he carries our cries to power? Do you think there will be justice because of him?" The old man doubted, his heart still heavy with years of betrayal. Elias pressed on. "Let's try this route first before we take up arms. Violence begets violence, and the innocent will always suffer." "All right," the old man relented after a moment of thought. "Should your approach fail, I will follow you on your path to revenge. But first, let's give this a try." His resolve had softened, and a flicker of hope arose in his chest. Elias smiled, relieved at the old man's response. "In 4 days, send a man to the beach at San Diego. I will share what I learn. If he accepts to take our pleas to the Captain General, then we can start to seek justice. If not, I will join you in taking up arms." As they stepped out of the cave into the moonlit night, the old man grasped Elias's hand, gratitude mingling with grief. "Elias, I see in you the spirit of my lost sons, brave and unwavering. If my vengeance comes true, I would gladly embrace your cause as my own." Elias nodded, a bond forming between them that transcended their suffering. They faced an uncertain future, but together they would strive for something better than revenge, hope for justice and a chance for their people to rise.